Happy Friday. Best new thing in the world today requires a little trip back in time to the magical summer of 1988. It was 2 days before George Herbert Walker Bush would stand up in front of his party and the nation to accept the Republican nomination for President of the United States. He was running behind in the polls, way behind, double digits behind. He needed a boost. He needed to make a big impression. But instead, Mr. Bush did something that flummoxed his party and the press. He decided that his running mate would be this guy, Indiana Senator Dan Quayle, woohoo, who at that moment was more of a question than the punchline he soon became and remained to this day. Instantly, the media questioned everything from Dan Quayle's youth and experience to his military record to his connections to an attractive lobbyist. The response was so negative to the selection of Dan Quayle as VP that behind the scenes, some Republican heavies mused about dumping Dan Quayle from the ticket before he was even nominated. They started talking about this almost immediately. Publicly, aides insisted that George Herbert Walker Bush considered Quayle to be his first choice and his only choice. But that was really only the public line. That was the official history of this, but not the real history. We learn the real history of this today, thanks to an interview with Poppy Bush's former Secretary of State, James Baker, an interview just released today. And thanks to it, we now know that the 1988 Republican ticket could have been very, 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 emphasis on very, very different.
So the real candidates were Dole, Quayle, Simpson, Kemp. Is there anyone else that you remember as being an important candidate?
You don't have Clint Eastwood on there. Make my day. Did you know that Clint Eastwood's name was thrown out at one point?
No, I didn't know that.
When we were way behind, it was suggested, and not an altogether unserious. Well, he was a mayor he was Republican mayor.
Was he a mayor of that?
Carmel?
Mayor of Carmel there?
Anyway, it was shot down pretty quick. But we were we were looking at an 18-point deficit.
Clint Eastwood seriously considered for vice president. The very real possibility that instead of this, we nearly had this. Seriously, the best new thing in the world today. Seriously, that made my day. Get it? Sorry. Happy Friday. Have a good weekend.